I was only gone a week. Hey everyone, I'm back from Rosslare. A lot has happened since I left. To be honest, a hell of a lot has happened since I left. I mean, I was only gone for a week. That really just shows you how fast politics flies, and doesn't it? How fast it moves. I have pretty much had to play kind of catch up, really. So in this video, I want to talk about some of the stuff I missed. Now, I'm just going to give you guys a little bit of information about my situation in terms of connectivity and my ability to get information. When I was in Rosslare, I had no internet. My cell reception was horrible. And the only access I had really to news was RTE News, Virgin Media News and Euro News. A little bit, but not that much. So that's going to do it. First up, the resignation of Phil Hogan as EU Trade Commissioner. Now, Phil Hogan resigned as EU Trade Commissioner when he broke COVID-19 restrictions when he went to the Oireachtas golf dinner here in Ireland. Now, he also went to Kildare, which was actually in lockdown. So he broke an extra lockdown rule there, really. I think this does leave the EU in a bit of a tricky situation, as Hogan was a big voice for Ireland in regard to Brexit. And to be honest, it does leave them in a tricky situation after Brexit. Because once the end of the year is gone and the transition period ends, then trade negotiations with other countries outside the UK will be vital. And this was actually a guy that was very good at it, and now the EU is in a bit of bother on that. Questions are now being asked as to who will be nominated for his position. Now, the EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen has called for Ireland to nominate 2 nominees for the position, 1 man and 1 woman. The 2 top contenders for the nomination would be Simon Coveney and Mairead McGuinness, which both seem like good candidates, I think. But what could be worse is if Ireland loses the trade portfolio altogether, and that's going to cause havoc with Ireland, especially with the UK and Brexit, if it happens. So next up, the Republican and Democrat National Conventions. The Republican National Convention, the RNC, took place while I was in Rosslare, while the DNC, the Democrat National Convention, took place before I left. Now, I did follow the DNC quite closely. And to be fair, it was a shit show. It's the best way I can describe it. And it really just showed just how ridiculous the state of affairs is in the Democratic Party. I mean, there was no energy in it at all, really. And the speakers, some of them were gas, I will say. I mean, just to quote some amazing ones, had to be Bill Clinton giving a lecture to Trump about conduct in the Oval Office. Yeah, because you'd know, Bill, wouldn't you? Elizabeth Warren was the best example of a Native American that they could find. Yeah, the same Elizabeth Warren that apologised for describing herself as Native American in February last year, when she did a DNA test showing that 1 in 1024 pieces of her DNA were Native American, so basically F all. And Hillary Clinton in her speech, which I will admit wasn't as bad as some of her others, I will say, still quite bad. Hillary Clinton talked about, kind of gave advice to the Democrats on how to win elections. Yeah, you'd know, wouldn't you? The only platform they had really was that they needed to get Trump out of office. Okay, well, you need more than that, lads. The reason being, say you do get Trump out of office, say you win in November, what then? Now I will say, I've only been kind of catching up on the RNC. I haven't seen some of it yet, so I'm still kind of updating myself on that. I will say the RNC, from what I have seen in terms of speakers, had a lot more energy to it, and I had a good few inspiring moments, I will say. My favourite being when the politician who was paralysed, Madison Cawthorn, stood up with aid of support to be able to he stood up to speak, and I found that really inspiring. The speeches, the ones I've seen anyway, were well delivered, and those who spoke the truth. Now, of course, CNN and many others in the mainstream media have claimed otherwise, that the truth basically can't exist in the Republican Party, because that's CNN. There's not much truth there. The speeches did give a strong message of unity behind patriotism. These were people who were clearly proud to be Americans. So, that's a much stronger message of unity, I think. One thing I will say, and I saw the CNN bit on this, was when it was a moment of media stupidity. But again, this is the mainstream media we're talking about here. They're not particularly, I wouldn't say they're particularly bright, especially CNN. The funniest moment of media stupidity, I will say, is when they criticised attendees of the last day of the convention for not following COVID rules. Right? They were close together, they weren't socially distanced, and they weren't wearing masks. But they also ignored the fact those protesting the convention also weren't socially distanced, and only some of them were wearing masks. Last up in the list I have is Jacob Blake and Kyle Rittenhouse. Now, these are two different stories where a lot has happened, and I'm going to hold my hands up and say I don't know that much about either story. So I'm actually not going to talk about it now. I want to do a bit more study and research into these stories before I give any kind of opinion on it, because my opinion on it at the moment is not strong. I don't really have an opinion on it. I don't know anything about those stories. So I probably will do a video on those stories when I do find out more, but at this point in time I'm not comfortable enough yet. I do have something happened kind of after the riot started up again in Portland, and a man who was a Trump supporter was, I will say, executed. There's no better way to describe it. From what I've heard, and from I've seen the videos on this, it's a little chaotic, but what seems to have happened was that members of Black Lives Matter called out and said, we have a Trump supporter, we have a fascist here or something. He turned around, and just after he turned around, bang, shot dead. I will admit that was quite a harrowing video, I will say. It's hard to watch. This was caused by violence that's being allowed to happen. And the Portland Mayor, Ted Wheeler, is blaming Trump for encouraging that violence. To quote his words, Trump should either support us or stay the hell out of the way. Trump did offer support. He offered to send federal officers to Portland to help stop the riots, stop the violence, as he has done in other states where the violence has happened. You refused. So, the only conclusion I can come up with, based on your actions, is that you want the violence, Ted. Because you have done fuck all to stop it. All you've done is stop those whose job it is to stop that violence. The police. What happens when you defund the police? The police can't do their job, and without law enforcement you don't have law. So if you refuse federal officers the chance, the support that you need to get this violence under control, because your head is that screwed up with Trump derangement syndrome, what do you expect would happen? A man died because of you, Ted Wheeler. Because of your inaction. Get a bloody grip, man. I'm happy I went away. And I'm happy I didn't have internet. I'm happy I disconnected for the week, because doing politics on YouTube does beat you down a bit, especially with some of the subjects I talk about, because it's serious stuff, so it kind of beat you down a bit. The reason why I was happy to get away from everything was just so I could basically rest my mind and just kind of unwind a bit. Now, I will also say it wasn't just this. It wasn't just the politics I was kind of escaping from. It was a lot of stuff, and there was a couple of stuff in my personal life as well that I just needed to get away from. Today's world is quite chaotic at the moment, and I think we all need to just keep our heads down and get through what's happening at the moment, especially with COVID. Unfortunately, politics moves very fast, and if you go away for a week you miss a lot of it, so like I did, and now I have to play a bit of catch up. I don't mind that though. To be honest though, I'm back and ready to go. So what do you guys think? Share your thoughts on these stories with me in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear them. And if you like this video, hit that thumbs up button, and don't forget to subscribe to keep up with my latest videos. Albert Hubbard said, "No man needs a vacation so much as the man who has just had one." Thanks for listening. and I'll see you next time.